This is great. So Alice Farah's just put this map on that they found. They just found this map when they were at Kirkstall Abbey, which is really helpful now. Don't know if it's an actual speed map, but it's very similar to them because it's got all these weapon tacks on, and he's done the same style as the enclosures and private houses. So if you can just see where my finger keeps tapping the white there, he's actually drawn. You see, look at his style in drawing these hills is a certain style, more or less a kind of pyramid style, right? Now, he's not put anything at where Meltham is. And he's not put anything at where Robin Hood's grave is. But what he's done at Robin Hood's grave, where that other map actually shows a big mound by Robin Hood's grave, that Art said, instead, he's put Agbrigge. So he's not put Agbrigg. It's actually bridge. So that's the proper full name instead of abbreviated to Agbrigg. Actually Aggbridge. Which then we've got the Brigantes and the Bridges, God Bridget, Celtic God Bridget, Brigid. And actually the word bridge is recognised as well. At bridge. This is at bridge. Now our rivers aren't that big and aren't that deep. Not like, you know, the Aire or the Thames or anything like that, or not even like the River Goul when it gets bigger. They're relatively quite small, so you wouldn't need to recognise any significantly big, massive, wide river to necessitate to be called a bridge for the river being a bridge at our area. That's why they built York where they built York, because the Romans wanted a bigger river to be a big city. Our river's not really enough supply to be a massive place. I mean, they've got Shrewsbury, which is by the River Severn where it starts, but it's quite a substantial river, that. Ours are more milder. Now, so to use the word at bridge, something needs to be a bridge shape, or a mast, or a pole, or elongation, or like the Crannogs have got a bridge going out to them. And I think it is the long barrow shape, which is bridge shape. And I think they were called bridge houses. I mean, it's got Brig House is like Agbrigg. Agbrigg, we've got Brig House. So it uses the word brig to abbreviate bridge, right? But Brig House has got the term house with it. Now, that warrior's tomb, someone on that other map, someone drew that big mound, right? But it's drawn it at Artsted where Robin Hood's grave is. So he didn't want to draw it where the warrior's tomb is. Now, it could only either have been Warrior's Tomb, or it could have been Castle Hill, or it could have been Dunelm. But he only draws one of them on, but he puts it where Robin Hood's grave is, when there's no such massive mound at Robin Hood's grave, because there's a little tiny stone in the floor, and it didn't, at that time, it didn't even have that fence around it. It was just Robin Hood's grave, right? Now, I went to the Warrior's Mound, the Warrior's Tomb, the other day to measure its height, and it's 40 metres high. 40 metres high. Do you know, Old Oswestry is one of the most well-preserved hill forts in the country. Spectacular, beautiful hill fort. I love it, right? It's got 3 triple multivalets. It's got the most complicated multivalets around it, extravagant you can get. But it's only 23 metres high. And when you put a photo of a house next to it, it looks big. But the thing is that Warriors is 40 metres, not 23 metres, 40 metres. Now, you can't really tell until you look at the houses on top from far away, which look tiny. But because it's been built around it and visual access has been obstructed, you can't really get a sense of scale of it, because all the houses that you see to take a photo of to get this an impression of its height are quite close up. So that makes the houses visually look bigger when you're taking photographs. Now, if you could get a photograph with a house that was right at the bottom of it, with a clear view of the house, then you would be able to see at the right distance to see actually how big it is in context. Now, it's actually smaller area size than Old Oswestry. Most of the area of Oswestry actually takes up the perimeter anyway. It's big enough, it's hill fort size, it's easily occupiable for a full village on the top of it, right? Now, the thing is, if it's 40 metres high, we know the sides, we know by looking at the sides, but they're like very, very steep. A hell of a lot more steeper than Oswestry. So, if it's that steep, and obviously think if it's not as wide anyway, it can be steeper, you don't need multivalets around it. You wouldn't need triple multivalets around it. Oswestry's got triple multivalets around it. It's only 23 metres high. But that's 40 metres high. Is that Warriors? Well, according to GPS, because I use GPS for elevation on it, right? 40 metres. So it's that steep. The intense gradient of it is enough to not necessitate multivalets, I don't think. And that's significant in terms of other forts being defendable. Now, another thing on this map that Alice has put is this, right? That little tiny, is drawn, right, a little long barrow, right, there. And he's put it kind of sort of below Wakefield, Sandal, Horbury, Wakefield, Emily. He's put it sort of about where Royston is. There's Barnsley. Sort of just above Royston, right? But he's put it lone. Why would you put that there? Kind of lone, really nice, smooth shaped little long barrow. Now, that, to me, look, it's very much like what the other guy did when he put that massive mound. That Art said, when there is no such mound, that Art said. There is a mound, but it's not Art said. He didn't put Castle Hill on and he didn't put Warriors Tomb on. But now he's put a little perfect long barrow, which Castle Hill would have been like before 1066. And also Dunelm. In fact, I went and took some photos of Dunelm today and got the height measured of it. And it's exactly like that, right? So I'll just zoom into it. Now this is zoomed into it. It's a little bit blurred, zoomed in at that rate. But all those little dots around there, look. Put those little dots around. So that is, if I ever was an artist who was drawing something nice and cute and small representation of Summit, that looks like Dunelm and Castle Hill, but Castle Hill's obviously additionally is on a vantage point that makes it more prominent. Now, what are those long barrow forms are bridges, because it's an elongation, a platform that you're on, but a long one. I think the Romans called Castle Hill Camber Dunham, right? The fort by the bend in the river. But we've got three. There are three forts. Because there's Dunelm, which you all want to call Meltham Cop, but I won't even grant calling it Cop because, you know, I don't think that it says got Dunelm on it. I think they were the bridge houses. Because you've got Brigg House and Agbrigg, which is at a bridge. But we haven't got any big rivers to need a bridge. There's a big ridge that comes out at Huddersfield when you're up at Newsham that's kind of like shaped like bridge shape as well. I think, right, we haven't really got a name for anything from the Iron Age Celts because they didn't write anything down. All we've got is the Roman words, and the Romans said, you know, we've got the helmet for this area, which is like with H dropped helmet, and that Warrior's Tomb is like a Celtic helmet shape anyway, and we've got Agbrigg, which it's abbreviated bridge, but then we've got Brigg House, which is bridge house. Now, house is somewhere where you live, dwelling, right? In fact, the Celtic word for house is haig. The Celtic word for house is haig, right? And the guy's just come on the group earlier and he's told me, he says that he thinks that George Haig, the builder, is the guy that they got to build those houses on Warrior's Tomb. It wasn't Kirklees Council because Kirklees Council wasn't formed until 1974. So whatever council it were before that, they set this guy up called George Haig, the builder, to do it. His name's Haig, which is for house. So talk about the Brigg House, you know. There's a lot of names on these maps going around for helm, which is like for helmet. You've got upper helm. There's definitely on that other map as well, says upper helm at Warrior's Tomb. And then we've got helm at Meltham, which is a village by Dunelm. And Elm is helm. Dunhelm, right? But I think that Warrior's Tomb, the shape of it is the shape of a Celtic helmet. And it's like a heart shape, same as the Liberty shape. I think that for the form and shape, I think that the helm or helmet is actually that Warrior's Tomb, right? The helm or the helmet, right? And I think that the other name that we've got, which is Bridge, Agbrigg, Bridge House, at Bridge, right? That is actually for Castle Hill. It's not Camberdunham, the fort by the bend in the river. I think it is. You see, why did the Romans call it that? They didn't want anything to be remembered about the Druids or any information about them at all. Now, you usually have a bridge to cross a river, but our river's not even that significant to have a major bridge that needs to be recorded, because we're near where the river starts, up in the Pennines. We're right up in the Pennine Hills where the river starts from. So you've got small, tiny rivers. It's not a big place where you build a big bridge and then name it after a serious bridge. It's the actual hill forts, the actual long barrows. I think they are bridge houses, right? I think they're, because you live on top of them. And I've gone through this in the other videos, that there are a lot of ancient sites that are round shaped that you go inside, like Newgrange, Noth and Dove, that are all together. And they are like feminine symbols because you go inside them like the feminine, like the female parts. But the long barrows, the bridge houses are male part, and you don't actually need to go inside it for it to be symbolic. You can like just be kind of pottering around on the outside of it. To me it makes sense, and I actually think that this area was the headquarters of all the little long barrows that are all around the coast and all around the islands. I think that this was the headquarters because we've got two massive long barrows, and then we've got the actual Pennine Ridge, which is an elongation, and that Pool Hill, which is sort of long barrow shaped. And I've done some alignments on some of my other videos that I put on the website, but you'll have to go in there. If you type in Camberdunham, if you type in my name and Camberdunham on YouTube, you'll get all the other videos, which I'm not going to put the links on. I'll just do this one because it's just easier. So I think, and the reason he's drawn this, and actually the front of it is kind of like a Liberty shape anyway, These map makers are putting things on, but they're not putting them in the exact place. They're acknowledging it, but they won't. They're kind of indirectly acknowledging it, which makes you kind of suspicious, Did they not want people to exactly know where things are or what?